Welcome back, everybody. After a long hiatus, a long Christmas slumber, Chris is back. I'm just kidding.
From his Vegas adventures.
I know. I'm almost stayed up there, too. No, I'm just kidding.
That's crazy.
I think I did see that video on YouTube. Chris's Vegas adventures.
Go! Like that National Lampoon.
He punched old Zach Bagans in the nose.
God.
Sorry, Annabelle's not available to see today.
No, I know what it was. It was Zach Baggins coming back in time to punch you in the throat in Bartlesville.
God.
We reached through a portal.
Damn.
Interdimensional throat chop.
Boy, I'd cut him if that was true, boy.
You got to stay awake first.
I know it, man. That's
Hey, I thought
crazy.
did you think that they was gonna put a blanket on you or something when you just sit in that chair asleep and they just lay it on you so you just get nice and warm?
He's been listening and gave you some lemonade.
Yeah. Some tainted lemonade. Boy.
No, that's what's in that water bottle they gave you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, do any of you guys got any listener stories?
I don't.
I do have a listener story, but if it's okay, I'd rather share it on the next episode.
Okay.
But we have a listener. I can't remember exactly where he is from, but I'm just going to say, Omar, I've got both your stories ready to go. So I appreciate you guys, appreciate you sending those in, and we'll get those read in the next couple episodes.
Okay. If I can, I'm going to have Tyler read this from a listener that sent me one. This one's pretty good. So hopefully you guys enjoyed as much as I did.
Let me see here. Is it okay to...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full recognition.
Okay, yeah. My name is Bayless Alexander, and I belong to the Oglala, Lakota, Huichol, and Cora tribes.
Oh.
This story comes from my mother's side of the family, who are Cora and Huichol Indians. And I apologize if I did not pronounce that right. In the state of Nayarit, Mexico. Back in the 1950s, my family have resided in an old indigenous town called El Rayon. My grandparents had an old well that was in their property. One day, my grandmother went to the well to get water for the dishes, and a woman appeared by her and started making small talk with her. My grandmother said that what was off about the woman was that she was wearing an old Spanish colonial dress from maybe the 1700s. After the small talk, the woman told my grandmother that there is a chest with gold buried beneath the bottom of the well, and that she can have all the gold, but in return, she would have to give up one of her children.
Dang.
My grandmother was so furious that she took a broom and basically tried chasing the woman away. After the incident, my family got rid of the well, buried everything. One of my aunts and a couple of people from the town would tell me that sometimes at night they would hear the sounds of coins clinking together like it's trying to entice them to go dig up the area of the old well. People from the town have many assumptions of who the woman was. Some say it was probably a witch. Some said an evil spirit. I honestly don't know who the woman could be, but it's still a big mystery. This is one of the many paranormal stories that are from the town. And if you guys like the short story, let me know, and I will keep providing more from first-hand accounts. I really appreciate what you guys do. You guys remind me of my uncles when it came to telling stories and joking around. Much love to you. From my tribe to yours. Motto. Oh, that was a good one.
Nephew?
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Man, wow.
Yeah, I love to hear those old stories from Mexico. or that area, because you know they got some stuff down there.
Yep.
And if anybody's got some old Mexico stories, send them in.
Yeah, send those our way.
I love to hear.
We'd
about
love
those.
to hear more. What was this person's name?
Mr. Alexander.
Mr. Alexander, we appreciate that, man. I would love to hear more of your stories. What kind of got me thinking a little bit, man, is the sacrificing of a child. You know, the most precious thing in a lot of people's lives. You know, it's like a balance. You know, I ain't gonna say nobody's gonna do it, but that's kind of crazy, man. That's a great story.
Mm-hmm. Kind of reminds me of that old folk tale, Rumpelstiltskin. I could spin this straw into gold for if you give up one of your child or something like that.
Yeah,
so, that's cool, man. That's a cool
Appreciate
story.
that.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I got sent a video off of TikTok that I thought was pretty cool. Again, it was in the Las Vegas area, and I don't know how well it's gonna go being played on air, but if you guys want to listen to it and watch it,
yeah, let's do it.
We'll see if I can do.
In Las Vegas, and it was captured by several people. First video to surface the internet was by Hot
Oh, seen this one.
Whoa.
Whoa.
At first, everybody thought that these lights that you're seeing in the sky were actually being originated from the strobe lights in the club. However, in the next video that Hot had Brad captured, you'll see that this thing, whatever it is something completely different. It's something else entirely. And it's hiding behind the clouds. Check this out.
What the hell is this? Honestly, this is really strange. I mean, we're here every night. I've never seen anything like this.
Whatever this thing is, it's huge and it's reflecting off the strobe lights. You can see here in the video very clearly that at a certain moment here, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
It's reflecting off the strobe lights. What the heck is this thing? And, well, it was seen by many other people who also captured it on camera. David Nicole is one of them. Check this out.
Yo, I swear there's a UFO right over Las Vegas. I gotta turn this thing around somehow. Oh, there it is. We're here in Vegas. I'm at Resorts World. Just got off work. And it's slowly, there it is. It's been sitting there for 10 minutes at least.
Wow.
That was cool.
Man, those lights up in the sky, you know, they catch them all the time. And it's crazy, you know, where people are just in a moment of just, you know, you're partying, you're not really, you know, focusing on things, but all of a sudden you see, you know, those lights in the sky. That's kind of wicked.
I want to thank Macy Allen for sending me that. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, and I just want to thank everybody that's come out to any of the shows that we've been at. And I know I met a lot of people in Las Vegas. Again, I sure appreciate everybody listening, coming out, supporting, showing the love. And again, say Mado.
Yeah, that was. I remember watching that video on TikTok. At first, I was just kind of like, I don't know. It looks like something staged. But then multiple people were sending the same video on TikTok from different angles, and it was like, oh my god, like what's it doing up there above the club? And it reminded me of Nope. Have you guys seen that yet?
I've not seen it yet.
Yeah, you need to watch it. Yeah, it's pretty good.
This thing hides like in the cloud as a cloud. Is
Yeah.
it as, yeah. It hides as a cloud. This UFO, and it stays in that one spot, and then it just kind of, they name it Jean Jacket, but it's like the whole thing goes with the story, and it's a really good movie. and it's really cool. Like the idea of what he did to that movie, because you think it's like you think it's something, but it's totally something else. So you would like it.
Yeah,
you would
I'll
like
check it out.
But that's what that reminds us. Just chilling in that cloud. I want to say, don't look at it in the eye, you know, because that's in the movie. Like, don't look at it, you know, because it'll basically bring you up and eat you. But yeah, it's pretty wicked, man. I don't know. Did you see that when you were over there, Chris? Did you see anything like that, like UFOs or?
No, I mean, I was told that, you know, again, that Las Vegas area, you know, they have a lot of sightings of UFOs, not to mention all the paranormal activity stuff. There was just so much to see up there. I mean, I would need probably like 3 months to be there to see everything that, you know, they've got to offer, you know. But yeah, when you're there, you'll hear a lot of UFO stories. But my understanding that Area 51 is not too far from there. So again, to me, it makes sense. You know, it's pretty close in the area. You know, they're always seeing stuff. They also have a lot of military people all through town. I mean, if you really look, you'll see them walking around all over the place up there. So. I heard a lot of stories. I know you guys were talking about Men in Black. You know, dang, I've actually seen, you know, some of these guys pull up and go into like a sandwich shop, and I said, dang, they must be Secret Service type sandwiches. No.
God. You gotta get that special human meat. No.
Men in Black sandwich. No.
Seen Will Smith and. What's his name?
Tommy Lee
Jones walking in there.
That'd be kind of wild if you did.
I thought I seen a UFO here because I took our dog out to go use the bathroom, and then it was like 11 maybe or midnight, and I just was looking up, and I seen this green light going that way, south or whatever, or north. And it was just going. I thought it was a plane, and I was like, that's low for a plane. But I just kept watching it, and it stopped. And it stayed in this one spot. And it just like stayed there. And I was like, what is that? And it wasn't blinking. It was a green light. But you could kind of see how big it was, and it was just chilling. And I kept looking at it, and then it was almost that like it moved, like looking at me, and it started coming towards here. And I was like, oh, God. So I took my dog and I came inside, turned the light off, and then I turned the light off, and then I went back out there, and it stopped wherever it was when I went inside, and then it went back towards this way, and then it started like coming down. And I was like, oh, it's a drone.
Dang, but still.
Yeah, it was somebody's drone though, because it went to somebody's house and it just went down. Peeping Tom. No.
Yeah.
Just saying, there's a video of you somewhere out there on the internet.
This guy's scared of me.
Dang, he's in his PJs.
I'm on TikTok.
Yeah, looking somewhere out there.
Or someone got took.
Oh,
Could be.
I think
You just watched your neighbor get took, though.
No, it wasn't somebody's.
No, I know. But
You could see through the trees though, because it went back this way and then it went back that way, and then it went down to somebody's driveway.
Was it? Do you think it was a delivery though?
I don't know.
You know, I know you go to like these big towns, big cities, and they're starting to do delivery through those drones.
It's crazy.
And I haven't never seen one, but I keep hearing about them.
Really?
So I don't know. Maybe
I remember hearing about them, but I've never. I didn't even think that was a thing that was happening. I thought it was just kind of in production still. But
imagine you're like Taco Bell getting delivered up above your head, and it slips out the grip of the drone, and now you got Taco Bell raining down on you.
all that Taco Bell sauce. No.
Is it for food or Amazon or like packages or whatever?
My understanding, it was Amazon and a couple of other companies that are using it, and even there's food deliveries in some of these big cities with using those drones.
Wow.
Maybe it might have been. Then they seen me and they're like, "Check this out."
No. You know what it was?
I'll be trying to hack into it, make it come to my house, drop it off.
Oh, look at all these pizzas that just showed up.
No, you know what it was? So we posted. So Russell posted that drone footage of that
Oh,
Bigfoot.
yeah.
Nah, that was Russell. Y'all don't even know that was Russell. That drone that was going over, that was him walking the dog through the woods.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Have you seen?
I haven't seen
Oh,
that,
I
don't
should have
think.
sent you that.
I don't
can
have
show you
TikTok,
that.
man. I only got TikTok.
What a geek!
It's on the.
Dang. Merry Christmas to me.
It's on our
just kidding.
TikTok.
Here's
It's
a
on-
knife in the back.
Let me show you. I'll post it on here too. I'll post that one you sent too.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that
let me
was
show Tyler
live
this,
footage.
Damn,
Live
we got
footage.
500,000 views on that.
Yeah.
No.
That was Russell.
It's me walking my dog.
There's Natty right there.
Yeah.
Dang, you hear the snow crunching. Wait, those sound effects are put in, right? Because that thing's like groaning.
Because those drones got.
Whoa, it went into
microphones
like
on
a nest.
them. Those drones got microphones on them.
Dang, that's cool.
What you think about
I haven't
that? You
seen
think that's real?
So everybody that's on here arguing about, because drones do, you can hear the propellers, right?
Yeah.
So there is, that's why I put credit to Ken's carpentry. Go to his YouTube, you can watch the whole video, but he does, like, you can hear the drones, propellers, you can hear all that stuff, you can hear these footsteps. It's all on his video.
Yeah.
And you can't hear the propellers because the music's
There's
on there.
music on it, yeah.
There's music on it, but you can still hear the crunching of the feet or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody was like, you can't even hear the drone. The drones have what, and this is like, I want to reply to everybody, but I'm like, there's like, how many people on here? 1,000 comments on here, and
Yeah.
I'm not about to reply to everybody.
Can't you just make one comment to tell them they're all wrong? No.
Pin a comment. Yeah, I guess you could, kind
In
of.
my mega comment.
But,
A super comment.
But this is a video that was floating around, and I was like, it'd be cool to just like repost it on ours. So
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting anything crazy.
Do you think
but-
it's real?
That was, I mean,
Well, like the story is, he just wanted to go out and capture bears in the wilderness, and that's why he had his drone out. And so he wanted to go out there and try to capture bears or certain wildlife. And he was going around, and that's when he seen this Bigfoot, supposedly. And he's like, you could hear him say, "What is that?" And he follows it. It goes into that,
it goes in like a nest or
yeah,
something.
like a tree.
Yeah.
And it just disappears. There's more to it, but it's in that video on YouTube. It never comes out of that. It's like almost as if it disappears into that tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Or it nests there. So, but what are you guys' thoughts on it?
It's hard to tell from like the proportion, like from the angle, because it's literally right above it, so you can't really get like arm length to like the body proportions. You can't really tell the height or anything on it really. I look pretty good to me, but again, that's not my first viewing. That's 15 seconds of me analyzing that footage.
I definitely, I'm not going to say that's 100%, real or what, but I will definitely say, that's a big, strong possibility. I would agree if they would just, if they say, that was true or not, because bottom line is, everybody's wanting footage of him, and who can catch it, it just, I know I've experienced things that I can't catch with the camera, with the audio. And, I know sometimes I'll not even looking, I catch something, and I know what was around, what was real and what was not. But, everybody else, oh, that ain't real. I know stuff like that. I know that can't be real, and here I've experienced it, but I'm not going to sit there and argue with, whatever they want to believe, that's up to them. I was there, I seen that thing. So again, to me, I mean, it looks pretty, but again, I'm not a technical person, so I know everybody probably saying, "Oh, it's fake." He probably was out there with the suit, or it's all graphic design or whatever. But to me, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it looked pretty cool.
One thing about the video that I kind of makes me kind of think it's sus is the drone gets kind of low. I don't know if it's a zoom in effect or if I don't know if the actual drone lowers to where it gets closer. I would think that a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, Yeti, whatever you want to call it, would be like, what is that over my head? Mm-hmm. This thing never looks up. It never looks down. It's like, I'm going here, and that's where I'm going. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of makes me think it's kind of a little sus because it's like being it's like as if someone if someone was flying a drone in my living room, I'd be like, what is that? And you especially never seen it before, unless that guy flies that drone out there a lot, and those Bigfoot are like, oh, okay, we know it's that guy. Mm-hmm. I ain't worried about it. He's not gonna bother us. I don't know, but no, to me, the hair too is another thing too that looks like matted. It looked like it had been worn out a little bit. Mm-hmm. But I would say I'm going 75, 35 real. Mm. So
I always say, I told people my glass is half full. It could be, it couldn't be. I know people like to fake a lot of stuff, so you can't really take the words of people, especially like with the internet and stuff. So it's half full. Where it could be real, it couldn't be real, but
we hope.
For everybody, we did not film that. Everybody thinks that we filmed that. No, that's why I put the camera credit to Ken's Carpentry. So go check his YouTube channel out. That's the only video it has. He's not a Bigfoot hunter. He's nothing like that. You'll find the video because it's the only Bigfoot one he has, and that's another thing. It's like, he's not a Bigfoot hunter, Bigfoot guy, and he just kind of stumbled across it. But I mean, comments are saying like, I don't know. You might know how they move. People were saying, well, why is it clearing the branches from its? Because it's walking to wherever it's going, but it's like moving the branches so it can get through them. They're saying like, wouldn't it just walk through, like, because it's so big, right? And it could just.
I'll just say this, however Bigfoot moves, he's not dumb. Mm-hmm. He's been out in these woods, all his life, and so if he wants to clear it out of his way, he'll clear it out of his way. If he wants to just walk through, he'll walk through it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just like you and I, we can go through the woods sometimes. Sometimes you clear things, sometimes you don't. To me, it's just, I guess that Bigfoot's preferences, I guess. Yeah. So. Mm-hmm.
And then people were saying, well, how come the drone won't go down? But there's like a bunch of branches too. Mm-hmm. So that's probably why it didn't go lower, because there's a lot of dead trees around. And I mean, you don't want your drone to end up with Bigfoot, right?
Yeah, first of all, why would you even drive? That thing's probably $1,000.
I don't know, man. I kind of want to see that, though. I ain't gonna lie. I think it'd be worth my drone if I could hit him in the head with it and then pick it up.
$1,000 gone.
Like looking at it.
What was that again?
He's like, hide it in his hand, take it back to the nest.
I'll be pointing at you.
This is all coming together now. This is all coming together.
I mean, thanks for everybody for viewing that and commenting on it, but you guys can fight in the comments. There's a lot of people that were fighting in the comments, and I couldn't reply to everybody. So
we'll let y'all have that war on your own.
So I'm clearing the air on here. We didn't film that. That's not us. Nobody here is in the suit. Ken's Carpentry, and yeah. So
who did they say was in the suit? Was it Yehola?
No.
Dang, the way it was walking, it looked
no,
like.
I'm just kidding. No,
I know that waddle.
I've seen him move them branches like that before.
I know he swings his arms.
That's Tyler moving those branches.
I'm too short, man.
That's how he scratches. No.
See, there's the Bigfoot boots right there.
Oh, there you go, right there.
Yeah. Little tappy tappies.
Tappy tappies.
No, they never said the name. They just said like, "Oh, it's you guys fooling around."
They really thought that was like us out there.
Yeah, like some of them, because they didn't read, because people don't read the or not the comments, but the description. But that's why I put like the credit so we don't get in trouble. But it's all over TikTok, so I was just like, I'll just put the credit. But
I mean, it went viral multiple places.
It's not us. Yeah. But yeah, they're like, you guys are just messing around, pulling our leg. That's you guys.
I wish that was us.
That's a prank. It's like, no.
I wish we had that footage.
I wish I would have went through those comments, man. There's sometimes I'll say this on TikTok. I will go through our comments and I'll just look at things. And there's times where we're all human. But my blood pressure gets up a little bit. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what you think about that story, or that's what you think of that. And there's times where I'm like, man, I just want to troll people. Because there's people that really believe certain things. Like, we'll post something, and they'll be like, wow, this is, that's crazy that this happened, this, and this. And there's other times you got knuckleheads in there, like, going to battle. Like, you got 35 comments of them saying it is or it isn't. So, but regardless of that, we appreciate you commenting at the end of the day, because it's discussion.
Just make sure you heart the video.
I know. We were looking at analytics. I was, anyways. Some of y'all don't even be following us. Go subscribe. Go follow. What's wrong with y'all?
We're about 800 away from 40,000 followers, so go follow it if you haven't yet.
Yeah. Go tell that one person.
Hey,
Yes.
y'all got to remember, too, Chris promised y'all a show on YouTube.
That's right. No.
Get to 3K.
Yeah.
I never seen a chicken dancer like Chris. Fancy boy.
Man. Give me that double beat, too, boy.
You want to talk about strut?
God. Out there like Ric Flair.
Man.
Oh, God.
I don't know where we're at on YouTube. I think we're still at like 1.6K or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, so get ready, Chris.
Yeah, you
Halfway
better
there.
it's coming.
Yeah.
Y'all want to see
Halfway
it?
there.
We better get some more likes and follows. And,
You're going to dust his feathers off.
He promised.
Yeah.
dang it.
No, but on this episode, we're
Clear
going
to
to talk
stay.
about ghost vehicles,
Highway ghosts?
highway ghosts,
Road
ghost
ghosts?
cars, ghost boats, ghosts out there on a highway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just decided to kind of go over this. I thought it was an interesting topic. There's a few stories I heard from my friends out in Carnegie, but if you want to explain more, okay.
There's always a major highway. I don't care where you're at. They always have a major highway where they say, they see spirits on its, specific time of day or night, There's always stories like that. Even, across the waters, they got, what they call it, the Autobahn. And they've got a lot of ghost stories on that highway, and that's a highway that, you can go as fast as you want on there. And, again, around here, I think there's several, I think they even talk about specific highways that, that are notorious for that. At this time, I can't think of what highway that is, but I know there's several of them. But not only mentioning highways, but there's back roads, especially here in Oklahoma. You'll hear a lot of stories of people, traveling that highway number 9 over there by Destin, Hannah, going towards Eufaula. There's a lot of stories about that Highway 9 here in Oklahoma, especially around that Hannah and Destin area, that they see someone walking during the night, or, you go further down to closer to Eufaula, they'll talk about spirits that get into your car, and travel with you. Even around Okmulgee, Oklahoma, they've got that old Beggs Highway. They talk about there's a Four Corners intersection that's well known that, you go through there a particular time of night going towards Muskogee, and something will get into your car, in the back seat of your car, and will kick it, scream around, pull your hair, do stuff like that. But, those old timers always tell you, if you're traveling at night, never, ever look in that back seat, when you're driving, especially down these roads, and or else you might see something that might make you wreck. And so, that old Biggs Highway, again, that's got a lot of stories, even from, you hear stories from all the way back from the 1940s, people traveling that road towards Muskogee. People will tell you, especially at that intersection. And my understanding also in that area, a long time ago, my understanding that there was a Civil War battle that took place off in that area. And so to me, it makes sense. You have so much activity on that road. Again, there's a lot of roads out there that you can run across. Even there's a old road around Okemah, Oklahoma. It's going towards Wetumpka, Weleetka. They say, every now and then you might get this spirit that jumps in the back seat of your car, and it's a spirit of an old Muskogee lady that kind of, how you say, she was once married, and her husband went off to war, and he got killed, and she couldn't deal with that, the loss of her man. She really got real depressed, and she began to start drinking and trying to get real in a bad way, they say. And they say she was from medicine people from back then, during those 1940s. Those people had a lot of juice, a lot of power. And they talk about shapeshifters, and she came from those kind of people. And when she began to drink, and lose her thoughts, her control, they would say she would sometimes change. She would, change in front of people. And the story goes, she was walking that road, and sipping. And these white guys pulled over and picked her up. And she was real pretty. And they took her down one of those off roads. And they began to, try to have their way with her. But, while they was driving, the guys in the back that was trying to do bad to her, they start screaming. And he turned around and looked. And sure enough, she was sitting in the middle of them. And she was changing into different animals. And, she had no control of, that ability. And I guess she started changing. So they pulled over and they got out. And one of them had a gun and shot her. And they say if you go down that road, sometimes she gets in your car and she'll do that. She'll shapeshift into different animals. And it scares people. So they say, if you ever travel down that road, make sure your back seat has something in it so she don't get in there. That's what they used to say. I don't know, people might have forgot, or I don't know. I haven't heard a story like that in quite some time, but also I haven't been down to that Okemah area in a long time. So
I think there is kind of, I have actually heard a story of that before. That's out. I think it's out in the, I want to say.
Dang.
I thought he
doing that.
Oh God!
I thought Chris was getting ready to shift into a frog.
This is the third episode in a row, man.
Oh God! What's he turning into?
He about to croak.
Watch this.
Oh my gosh! But I have heard that similar story, kind of in the Eufaula area. I've actually heard. I think my grandpa told me this story, but essentially they picked a girl up, and they got to a certain point in the road, and they looked back, and those boys in the back were screaming, stop the car, stop the car, stop the car!" And the boy, once they came to a stop, jumped out and took off, and the driver looked back, and there was a wolf sitting there, and they all kind of was like, "Man, we're gonna leave the car." and they came back and she was gone. So I have heard that similar, I guess you could say, ghost. But one thing too about a lot of these back roads that we kind of forget about these old cemeteries that are sitting around on these back roads. An example of one of those is in Braggs, Oklahoma. Braggs, America. There's a cemetery off to the you go down a long road, and it's next to a nature preserve. But we would go out there every now and then, and we'd basically go ghost hunting. Well, one night we was out there, and we just pulled up, and I guess it's like a family cemetery, but we get out, we do our thing, ghost hunting, kind of, just doing, kid stuff, kind of walking the grounds, and we get back in the car, there's a car pull up, but no one ever got out, and they was just sitting there. The car was, the lights, but it wasn't too far where you could see the make and model, but it was just far enough. So we take off, and I'm like, I'm driving. I'm in this old 98 red Chevy. And we take off, and we take a left, and there's no headlights. They followed us down that road. We take a left, going back up to middle of Braggs. Ain't no car there. So there's always those, I think of that, and, it could be a ghost car out, could have been someone, just saying, hey, get out of here. What are you doing in here? This is family territory or family land, but I just find it really interesting that like a lot of these back roads, there's a cemetery connected to it or around near some of these old dirt roads that that people go on every day.
There's several shows done on these highways. Now I'm trying to sit here and think the name of it, but there's one famous one. They talk about these women, they're always disappearing on this road. All these truck drivers, say they'll see women, on the side of the road. But it's also, a lot of tribes, they have that murdered, missing indigenous women. Mm-hmm. And this road is kind of one of those roads that, they kind of talk about. A lot of women, for whatever reason, they end up disappearing, and what I think is interesting about a lot of these stories they're about real people, that's missing, and people will say, oh, I seen so and so walking down the this highway. I went to pull over, talk to her, and she's not coherent. She just keeps walking, and they roll beside her, trying to get her to get in the car or whatever, and they look at the road and then look back and she's gone. Mm-hmm. And they pull over, get out, look around all over the place. They can't find her. And they actually talked about that in some of those, what they called those exposés, stories about these highways. Mm-hmm. And I can't think of the name of those editions, but I remember way back, when they used to have that show, what is it, 2020? Mm-hmm. They had a news that they were talking about, this highway. Was it
Highway of Death? Something like that.
Yeah, they got names like that, but this one, oh man, I can't think of it.
Isn't there one in California called like the Pacific Coast Highway or
yes,
like Dead Man's Curve or
something? And then Florida has one that goes all the way up to
Georgia?
Well, yeah, it goes all through that coast, through that coast. It's just a straight highway, and you'll hear stories about that too, on that highway. And again, traveling through there, I can honestly say I've seen something on those highways because I've been, traveling quite a bit for a long time, and I've seen apparitions on the side of the road. I've had them get into my vehicles, and I told a story at one of these events that from Pine Ridge to Rosebud, I was taking this highway, and I was a young man at that time, and I was cruising around. It was right after work. I had to go get down to Rosebud to do a survey, Anyway, make a long story short, I was seeing cars coming on and off at night. I see the lights. And I was always, just kind of looking at, when someone pulled behind me. This car pulled behind me, onto the highway. And I looked in my rearview mirror. And there sat a girl with long black hair sitting in the back seat. And she was crying. And it startled me. It just caught me off guard. And for some reason, I just couldn't quit looking. And, I remember what my elders used to tell me. So I told her, I said, I'm here trying to do a job, and, I'd appreciate it if you'd leave me alone. I'm up here trying to work, provide for my family. So, I'd ask you to leave. And this was an old government vehicle with the 4 doors, those big old heavy 4 doors. And while I was cruising down the highway, she opened that door and jumped out.
Bang.
And that car door slammed. And this is a heavy car door. And I pulled over. And the car behind me pulled over. And they start turning on those red and blues. It was highway patrol. Mm-hmm. And he got out of the car, walked up, and I had rolled down my window. He said, what's going on? He said, I seen something fall out of the back of your car. And he started flashing that light in my face, that flashlight. And I told him the story, what happened, because I was pretty startled and I was pretty spooked. And he said, I seen that door open up and close. And he said, I saw something fall out. I didn't know what it was. And so, he said, well, let's go look. So we both got out. And, of course, I was behind the police officer, because I was still spooked, And we looked all around. We didn't find anything. And he witnessed that. And he told me he worked that highway, that strip of highway, and he seen some pretty strange things in his time. And so he agreed with me. He said, what you probably experienced was probably real. And this was a white guy, highway patrol guy, saying, I have seen things on this highway. So, after he told me that, I got back in the car and he stayed right behind me, and I got to the next town, got to my hotel, called my boss, told her what happened. And, they have stories of that highway. She had told me those stories beforehand, but that really, emphasized that weird things do happen on that road. So, I do know, these spirits do roam these highways. I've had my own experience, not only once, but several times. So, anyway, now that I travel, I always put boxes or something in that back seat, so I don't ever look at nothing back there. So
I like to see that if his dash cam was on.
That's probably
that'd be crazy.
Then.
Yeah,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was like what early 90s.
Oh, would you say before dash cams?
Yeah, I would say, right? You said early 90s.
Yeah.
I think that'd be before dash cams became like a common
I don't think they put those into like late 90s.
For real. Yeah. There was one video. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was maybe late 90s, maybe early 2000s. I don't know. It's on YouTube. I should have watched it before this, but I still remember it though. But these cops are chasing this car, and it's on dash cam, and it's like a high speed chase through a town, and they don't recognize the plates. It's like an older Crown Vic, I guess. It's an older car like that, and man, it's just making all these stunt moves through the town. It's not hitting anything, and it's like a professional driver, and everybody there's 4 cops chasing it. Finally, it gets to this gate, and they're like, "Oh, it can't go through the gate. Probably gonna stop." Goes through the gate, and it just disappears into the dust, and the cops are like, "What was that?"
Whoa.
Yeah, it was it's a ghost car, and they're they didn't want to believe it, but it's well, where'd it go? Because it went into nothing. Like beyond that gate was just like nothing. Like clearly see something if the lights are still on, but that gate wasn't even torn up either. It was just like it just went through it as a ghost would, float through things. But the gate was like still intact. It was still there, and they stopped like right before they hit the gate, and they're like, "What?" They just couldn't comprehend what happened. But
That's crazy.
But there's an old. I have to send it to you guys too. I'll probably post it on here if I could find it. That thing I watched that in college though, and we're all like flipping out about it.
Man.
Yeah, the only story I ever have anything kind of like weird happening on a highway. I was coming back from Stillwater. This is probably about 10 years ago. Probably I was kind of seeing a girl that lived in Ponca, and it's kind of far for me to drive, far for her to drive. So we were kind of meeting in Stillwater.
When you said Ponca, that's all you had to say right there. No, I'm just teasing. Yeah.
He ain't lying, but nah, it's all good. But so we were meeting like in Stillwater, and for some reason, man, I don't even know why I wanted. Like, I'm just not gonna take the highway home. I'm just gonna kind of go back through like some of those back roads, and had my GPS on. This is, like I said, this is probably about 10 years or so ago, and I was this was in the wintertime too, because I remember like it was dark out. And then, or it was getting dark out. So this is probably like maybe November, because it starts getting dark, pretty early. And as soon as it got dark. It seems like it got dark really fast. And my GPS kind of quit working because, I'm out in like the sticks, you know what I mean? Driving like on this 2-lane road, and there ain't nothing back there. There's no street lights. There's nothing. It's just dark. And I was getting kind of little nervous, getting a little nervy, and I was kind of making some of these real tight turns, and I'm really kind of paying attention to my speed and trying to keep my eye on the road. I'm kind of looking down and looking up and kind of keep looking down back and forth, and I'm really kind of white knuckling it because like those back roads, they can just turn real sharp, and there's no like sign to warn you ahead of time. And the only thing I remember is like I remember seeing a sign for Jim Thorpe, like his home, his childhood home. And I remember seeing that sign and thinking, okay, well, something's up ahead. Something's up ahead. And probably about 4 or 5 seconds after I saw that Jim Thorpe sign, I saw like on the side of the road what looked like a baby black bear. It looked like just a tiny little baby bear. And I kind of slowed down enough to kind of like try to figure out what it was as I was driving by. And then when I looked up, a deer had just shot across the road right in front of me. And I always wondered, if I had not slowed down to like look behind me, I would have smooth on hit that deer, that big old deer. And I thought, man, that was weird, because I looked at it and I thought, that's weird. Like a little baby bear on the side of the road. And I just slowed down just enough to try to look at it. Man. And when I did, I looked up, and a deer shot right in front of my car. And I thought, well, I might be old Jim Thorpe right there, warning me.
Yeah, dang, might have been,
it's like all three of those things happened within a matter of like 5 seconds.
You know that Highway 51 that you're talking about?
Yeah, it was old Highway 51.
Yeah, that's notorious for all kinds of spirits. That intersection on Highway 51. That intersection that goes to Pawnee, and then what is that? Cushing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that intersection, before they made it I think it's a 4-way stop now. But before then, there was like a lot of wrecks in that area. And so they're always talking about just that intersection alone. You'll see spirits, different spirits, in that area on that intersection. And even that road from right there, from 51 all the way into Cushing, they say sometimes you might see, someone walking on the side of the road, or something, crossing the road, a young man or young woman crossing that road right before you get to that cemetery, like he was saying, on that highway. And, they just disappear. And even on the opposite side, going from 51 to Pawnee, all the way, even to that Y by Pawnee, they say, they see people, all over some spirits different time of the night, especially at that Y over there by Pawnee. There's a lot. Those Pawnees have a lot of stories of that Y there, and from that Y to what is that little casino called on the highway?
Stonewolf.
And if you understand the history, there's been like thousands and thousands of wrecks right in that area. And so to me, it only makes sense to, see these guys still trying to figure out what happened, so.
That's what that one story was. I told that story, I think on our live, it was near that Y section, but somebody broke down there like at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and then how it's not even busy. Like there's nobody ever going through there. And luckily, if you're lucky, somebody might drive through there, but around that area, it's like dead. But anyway, he's my uncle, and he was telling me this when I was little. He might have just been trying to scare me, but he was telling everybody like he broke down there, and it was like 1 a.m. or 12 a.m. and it was dark. You know how dark it is over there, and he's like, "Man, I guess I'm gonna have to walk to somewhere to somebody's house because nothing's open anyways." So he just started walking, and he said like when he was walking, he eventually heard like footsteps behind him as he was walking with him, and he stopped. And then when he stopped, it stopped too. And he was just trying not to freak himself out because, like you said, there's tons of stories from that area. So, and then he started walking again, and he didn't hear it for like maybe a minute or so, and finally was walking with him again. And they were like hard footsteps too. Like it wanted him to know it was following him and stuff. And he stopped again, and it stopped. So he told us like he ran all the way into town. And this thing was running with him, like behind him. It wouldn't like catch up to him, but it was behind him the entire time of running as well. And he got into town by Eagle Chief, I guess, and I think he stopped by somebody's place and crashed there or something.
I've had several people tell me that Lone Chimney turnoff.
Ooh, yeah.
You know that road. They say that there's something that'll jump in your car and it will pull your hair. I mean, they say it's almost like it rips your hair. And so they say if you're gonna go through that Lone Chimney, after midnight, you better have something with you because when that thing pulls your hair, it really jerks your head back, and it's caused, several people to wreck on that.
What?
So I've heard several stories like that. I don't know.
I've heard Lone Chimney is like really, there's a lot of activity that goes on there too.
Yeah.
So we might do an episode about the rake. I don't know if anybody knows what that is. I think you said you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
But somebody said they've seen that out there at Lone Chimney. This gray humanoid thing walking on all fours. And so I need to get the full detail, but they're like, yeah, it was this. They told me like a while back, they're just out there hanging out, and they seen this kind of gray, bald humanoid thing like peeking around in the bushes and stuff, like at them, and you could clearly see like the skin because it's so pale and the moon was out. And they said it was just like eventually it just started running at them. Is what they told me, and they got in their cars and left. But they described it pretty much the rake, and I knew what it was. I was like, man, it's the rake. Like, what's that? So I had to send them a video, and they're like, that's it. They're freaking out though, but I was like, wow, so close to home,
Just down the road, literally.
Yeah. Hey, I got an idea. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you listeners better like on this if you want us to do it. What if we go out there and we video one of you guys driving down that road and see if it jumps out and gets y'all?
Tyler,
I'm gonna cut my hair though before we go. They got nothing to yank.
I got to run the video, so I'm out of it. So
Tyler be like,
Now Chris is gonna be in the back seat like this, behind the driver.
be fighting around with
Tyler would be like, give me the rake.
But serious, I've heard a lot of
That'd be
stories in
cool.
that area. We ought to do that.
Well, I was thinking too, that intersection, we should probably, if we could, I don't know, but Lone Chimney would be good.
Let's see if our listeners want us to do it. If we get a whole bunch of likes, we'll go out there and do it. What do you
I'm
think?
down.
Man, and this is another kind of idea, piggybacking that. I think we should go out tomorrow home, man, and just video that. I know you went out there, Chris, and if you guys hadn't seen Chris's video, he's putting that evil on me in the video, but
I say let's go out there so he can get him finally, because I didn't call it down in front of him.
I know the plan is working.
I know, man. But at the end of that video, when Chris is done talking, he's basically saying goodbye to everybody. There's a faint scream in the background of that video.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Y'all need to go check that video out on Chris's Facebook, and he might have put it on somewhere else, I think. But
Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, go check that out. But
it said Yahola.
God, he probably did too. He's like, man, you've been out here too many times. I know your name. But
we got you.
but speaking of the Tahlequah area, there's all types of stuff, on those roads. And my dad, growing up, he told me this story, and I used to tell this story when we'd have Native American kind of storytelling kind of day type of thing. We in Native American education class, but he growing up, they only had one car, and he was living out in Park Hill. So if you can visualize Tahlequah, when you come into that 4-way stop where you got that, there used to be there's a Chili's there now, and you take that right like you're going to Hastings Hospital, and you take that road, and as you go down to your left, you'll see a Tahlequah Lumber. Well, that road that's to your right, you take that right. There's a road that goes on down, and it ends up turning into a dirt road. My dad would walk that at night. He was working at a convenience store at that corner across the street. It used to be a convenience store back in the 90s or 80s. And there used to be a convenience store there. And he'd take that right and go on down, and he'd go home. Because my grandpa at the time lived in Park Hill. And one night he was walking, and he thought he heard something off to his right across the barbed wire. Now, he had multiple encounters with stuff, possible stuff, kind of weird stuff. But he was walking, and he thought he heard, it sounded like basically four pads, almost like a coyote or a wolf. And it was on the other side of the barbed wire fence. And he's walking, and he kind of looks back, and there's nothing there. He's kind of like, oh, okay. Then he kind of hears something kind of not, it's like a sound. And I have to ask him what the sound is. I have him tell this story to me all the time and make sure I get it right. So, Dad, if you're listening, sorry if I don't get this right. But basically, he's walking down the road, and he hears it. And he gets us to a certain point of the road. There's nothing there. But he said it sounded like multiple coyotes and multiple different types of, like, kind of a wolf-type creature. And so he gets to a certain point of the road, and as you get to that certain point, to the left is the Heritage Center out there in Park Hill, Cherokee Heritage Center. Mm. And he gets to that point, and it stops. And I always asked him, I said, do you think something was protecting you from that thing, keeping maybe at bay? And he always kind of says, well, maybe. He always joked around. He says, I got 9 lives because of some things that went on when he was a kid. But he also had another experience on that road when he was walking. Like I said, this dude's crazy. I mean, I would never walk on this. There's no light. He took me there about a couple years ago. There's absolutely no light, no houses, no light, nothing. And one night he was walking, and he looked up, and he saw a dark shadow coming towards him down the road. And he looked, and the guy looked at him, and there was a guy. He had a hood on. It was kind of chilly outside. And they looked at each other like, are you real? Because there's things on that road. You can see shadows and things like that. Mm. And so he passed that guy, and him and the guy made eye contact and nodded and kind of thinking to each other. And the guy just disappeared into the darkness behind him.
I've been told several stories of that highway from Tahlequah, and I think it's to Sallisaw.
Yeah.
I think that's that back road or that main road. It's paved. And I was told that, again, like you were saying, there's spirits and shadows that come across that highway quite a bit. Another place over in that area is I think they call it Dwight Mission. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I've heard of that before.
Right before you get around near that mission area, around Sallisaw, they say that road right there is really haunted. You know, and that's notorious for things jumping in your car. So, you know, again, you know, if you guys experience that, got stories like that, please send them in. We want to hear those.
Exactly. Yep.
And if you haven't, you want to go out there and check it out, let us know, you know, so.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything in Carnegie? Like a ghost car in Carnegie?
Actually, yeah, I've heard several stories like that. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but I've heard they got a specific road down there that you'll see a ghost car.
Yeah, my friends from IA, they went down there with our buddy Warren Bueni, RIP, but they went down there for, I think we were on some kind of break or something, and there was about 5 of them that went to Carnegie to his family's place, and anyways, they went out back roading, and they're just hanging out, you know, maybe getting spooked. But Warren, you know, he was in hand games and he sang songs and he was into all this, you know, cultural stuff. And they were telling the story on Rob's podcast because Rob he came here to Oklahoma and he was there, and he was talking about it with James. And I remember they told me the story when they got back from Oklahoma, but they retold it. And man, like, so they went out there back roading, and, you know, I think they were trying to get spooked, and Warren said, "You guys want to hear something?" And they're like, "Yeah," because Rob's from Arizona and James is from Vegas or Reno, and who else went? I think Natani went, but he's from Chin Lee. People that aren't from here, you know. And he said, "You want to hear something?" Yeah. And he starts whistling. It's like dead of night, and he's whistling like what they told me is like a clown song or something, because he was telling them like clowns were they escaped like a circus or something like that. I forgot how that went, but there's like clowns around that back road area, and so he starts whistling this tune, and like they said like way out something was whistling the same tune back to them.
No, man.
And it was getting closer and closer and closer, and then finally, all right, man, let's get out of here, you know, because they were freaked out, like, and then like just remembering the story, like it's freaking me out because I know how scary backroading is. Like, man. I know how scary it is back there, and whistling and making these things come to you and stuff. And they said, "Man, let's get out of here," because it started getting closer and closer to them. And I think they said eventually got like next to them, like in the tall grass, and they could hear it like moving around. They got in a car, they took off, and then I think Levi was driving, Warren's brother. I think somebody, maybe James was driving, but I think Warren was in the passenger seat, and they were going back to his house, and all of a sudden, like, they made this right turn, I think, and then these lights came on, and then Warren was like, "Oh crap, the ghost car!"
Oh my god!
And then I think James was driving. He goes, "What?" He said the ghost car, and he said this car followed them all the way to Warren's house, right up on him. Nobody was out there, no cops, nobody. They never came across anybody else out there, and this car was just on them, and then followed him all the way to his house, and it just sat out there, outside their house.
Dang.
And they're on their porch, and they're just like watching it.
They didn't go up to it?
Nope, they didn't go up to it. The car stopped, like, I think it was at it wasn't like directly at their house. It was like across the street, but they live out in the country anyway, so it was just kind of across the street, I guess. Like, just, I want to say, like, here's their house, here's the street, and I want to say it was like parked at some sort of intersection to where it was pointing this way. They said it just shut off, the lights off, and then the car off. They're just sitting there, and they're out there watching it for a little bit, and I think they went inside, went to sleep.
I would not be able to.
And then they woke up, and it was gone the next day.
I'd be looking at that all night long.
That's a pretty wicked story. God.
But they said like it was like an old car, like we described, and it was brown, I believe, and real dusty and dirty and old. So, like, they told that story, and I was like, I think we're talking about ghost cars next, so I want to tell that story.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
You know, you was telling that one. When I was younger, my oldest brother, you know, he was quite a bit older than I was, and anyway, when he was he just got his driver's license. They have a lot of stories about that old Okmulgee Lake Road, you know, going towards New Yucca. You know, some of you Muskogees that might be listening kind of know that road, and there's several ceremonial grounds back that way. Anyway, they used to say, there used to be a car similar to that. It'd get right behind you, coming in from Okmulgee going towards New Yucca. And if you know that area, they would say that thing would start getting right behind you. And it was almost like it was about to hit you. Mm-hmm. So it caused you to kind of speed up, a lot of times. And they were always telling people, don't let it scare you. Just go. If it's real, they're gonna hit you. Then hopefully they got insurance. But they said don't try to speed up because it's got a lot of turns and curves. Mm-hmm. And then when you get around the lake, you can drive off into the lake. But they say it'll follow you around till you get to this one part near the lake, and then you'll see those lights go off into the lake. A lot of people will stop and they'll get out and they'll look, to see if there's lights in the water or, a car floating. There won't nothing be there. But my oldest brother said, him and his friends, they was out, acting up, they was going down that road, and sure enough, a car got right behind them. He put his bright lights on them and it was, real close. And, he had a car full, so if it was someone going to try to act up, there was a lot of Indians in that car. So they just cruised along. Matter of fact, he kind of slowed down, tried to make them mad so they'd pass him. But anyway, they got to that section where that road, has a sharp turn by that lake. And sure enough, that thing went off into the lake. And they all saw that, and they all, again, pulled over, and got out and to look. And they said they didn't see anything. So, there was quite a bit of eyewitnesses, and these were all my relatives. So, even to this day, they're all old elders now. So, anyway, but they'll tell you that story. So, again, that's another one, it's like that too. But I've heard about Carnegie, and even Anadarko has one. They say that they have something that goes around. I forget what they call that area. That's where they have that Indian Expo. It's kind of like their powwow area. Mm-hmm. And that's where they have their dance. But they say sometimes there'll be a phantom car go through there late at night, while people's out there camping. They'll put up camps out there and stay during their dance time, their expo, Indian Expo. And they'll say, that car will cruise around, and then eventually it just disappears. So you'll hear stories like that too, and to me that's pretty crazy. You hear stories like that in different areas, and these are, for me, the ones that I'm talking to, I don't want to dog them or anything. I'll just say, they're up in age, and so these are the people that I personally don't think they would be, trying to pull my leg or anything. You know what I mean? So anyway, I really believe them when they tell their stories like that. So, to me, that's pretty wicked.
Yeah.
I've heard a similar story like that back in the 50s where out by Stroud, like where they've always had that big Stroud powwow. Mm-hmm. And there's another car, like a phantom car out there that way. But it's like a big old 50, some kind of 50s car, because those things were like tanks back then, and they have all those camp houses out there, and that there was a phantom car that drove up and down that highway out there in Stroud.
Yeah. They got a lot of stories like that there too. And even this one's close to home. What do they call that? Mohawk Park.
Oh, yeah.
There's supposed to be, a couple of them out there, and not only that phantom car, but spirits that roam around on that road at Mohawk Park, and what is that lake called out there? Lake Yahola, is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I might have that wrong. I apologize, but there's a lake out there, and then there's one spot, I guess, where a lot of people like to fish, and they say, you cruise through there kind of around dusk, you'll see a phantom fisherman sitting there.
I've heard that story about a phantom fisherman.
And to me, that's pretty cool. But I don't know the story about why he's there. But you'll hear several stories, not only from Indian folks, but people that live in that area. So
they used to have a bunch of concerts out there at Mohawk Park, and I think maybe I was out there and heard somebody talking about like, oh, the old fishermen's out there, roaming those woods out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it could be because I saw the Fat Boys there.
Yeah.
Back on the Wipeout tour.
So you're not talking about those Kiowas either. No.
The real deal.
Dang it, do that again.
It's extra.
You gotta get the 5K.
You gotta get that 5K. You hear me beatbox.
It's a little taste.
Yeah. A little flavor.
Oh my god.
Somebody was talking about, I think it was when we first started this, we released a DW episode, and dang, I can't remember who it was, but somebody was saying, you guys should go to Mohawk Park.
Yeah.
And check it out, because they're talking about things in those trees or something that moved around in there too, but like spirits, I guess, too. Mm-hmm. But they're talking about like there's just a bunch of activity that goes on there, and they never mentioned that fisherman, so that's new to me. That's pretty interesting too.
Yeah, me and Chris, we're older. Not like you young pups.
Yeah, over here. I ain't never heard of that, but that's interesting though.
Whoa.
So now you gotta get cut. No,
that ain't a knife. It's a knife. That's how old I am right there. Only some of y'all are going to get that reference.
Yeah. I know I've heard, you had mentioned boats too, and of course, being in Oklahoma, you don't really hear too many of those haunted boats, but, I went up to Iowa, on that border of Iowa and Wisconsin. Dang, I can't remember the name of that town, but anyway, they have this river that goes through there. One side is Iowa, and the other side is Wisconsin. You go across that bridge. They have a boat there. I put this one on TikTok. This is when I was kind of new to TikTok, because I haven't been on TikTok for a long time. I just kind of done that this year. But anyway, they have a boat in one of their boat salvage yards, and it's kind of decent, outside, of course the paint's chipping and stuff like that, but the story behind that boat was that there was a wealthy man, and of course he was married, and his wife was cheating on him, and I guess he invited everybody to this boat party. They were known for this big old boat party that he used to host, and invited a bunch of guests, and I guess it was all her friends, and so, and plus that man that, she had been, having an affair with, and I guess they got on the water, and dang, he just went room to room, slashing people up, killing them, and then got to shore, and he committed suicide on that boat when they pulled over to and he committed suicide, and it was, they say it was a nice boat, and it was a super nice boat, and but people tried to get it and clean it up, and try to use it as a tour boat, get on there, and host parties and stuff. But they said it was always real eerie, real spooky, and a lot of activity on that boat. And the last owner, he just decided just to park it, and cut his loss there, and it's sitting in that boat yard, and I got to go on there, and I will say that place was pretty spooky. There was a lot of activity in that boat. You could hear voices. You could hear people sound like they were partying, and stuff. And for me, that was pretty crazy, But, again, it's still sitting on water, and they always say water is a kind of an amplifier for spirits. So maybe that thing's just always going to be amped up. But, if you want to see that, that's on my TikTok. You'll see that boat. I'm getting ready to go on there. And the only thing I had a problem with was, when you're sitting on those things, it does that, you can't
Get your footing.
Yeah, you can't really get for me, I couldn't get my balance, but it was just a crazy experience, and I'm glad I went on there. At first I thought, well, I'm going to get on there because, it looked like it was tore up, but you got in there, it was in pretty good shape, because the outer part, I guess, weathered real quick, but the inside still was pretty nice, but I could see how people wouldn't want to be on that boat, so.
No, just
No, I've had one experience myself with, I guess the one in Bragg's, but the one that's similar to what you guys are talking about. So this road, and I can't remember the highway number, but it goes the road that highway that goes from Wagner to OK, the back roads. I can't remember the name of the number of the highway, but I was coming home, and I might have told this story before, but this is what we're talking about today. But it's coming home from Blake Shelton concert at the BOK, and we're telling ghost stories, and we're talking, just kind of telling stories, kind of what we do. But all of a sudden, this car comes speeding up out of nowhere, and it's probably about 11 o'clock at night, 10:30. It comes up like hauling, just going crazy, and we hit the bend. And it's real up behind us, real close, and the person that was driving was getting kind of nervous. Like, what's this person doing? We're on this, back road. What's the deal? And as you turn, there's a cemetery, and kind of at the corner. And as we get to the cemetery, that car turns off. The car just turns off onto the cemetery, and you can kind of see once it turned off, you couldn't see the lights. There was no lights. So it turned, like I said, it turned left, and literally I'm looking, I'm like, where'd the lights go? Because you could see, how a car turns in, and the lights kind of shined over the cemetery. And I looked, and there's no lights there. And my friend driving was all scared and spooked because they're going to my house where my parents live. And I go back, I'd say probably about a week later. I had to go through Wagner, and I looked on the corner of that cemetery. There was some flowers there, like somebody had passed. You know how they do kind of a memorial on the side of the road. There was flowers there. So I'm wondering if some of them may have wrecked at that corner, and that's just where that goes. But there's something to it, with the cemeteries and and those type of things. But that's that would be, like I said, that's probably the second time I ever dealt with something like that. It's pretty interesting though.
This summer, and if you viewers want to help me out, I want to go see that Queen Mary. I know I'm going to try to make a trip to St. Louis to that Titanic Museum. I've been asked to go there several times. For some reason, I haven't done it. But this summer, I plan on going. So, maybe you guys can check that out. Because I was told that thing is haunted. Plus, Ghost Adventures went on there and said they got fingerprints on one of those windows and in there. But it's just, we call it a recreation. It's not the real Titanic. It's got a lot of its artifacts in there, though. But they say that's probably why it's haunted. But I'd like to go just to check it out, just to see what is actually in there. So, but I'd also like to go see that Queen Mary too. And I can't remember where that one's boated at. Do you guys know?
I don't know. But I've been to the Titanic exhibit at Branson. That's pretty cool.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I don't know if it's still there or not, but it's pretty cool. The same thing. They had like some artifacts, like some life jackets and some dishes and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool. I mean, you get the whole history of it, and so it's pretty neat. So.
Maybe we all ought to take a trip to St. Louis to go check that thing out, so we can get the handprints. like they did.
Was it like 2 hours away?
St. Louis is
6 hours. Ain't
6 hours,
Yeah.
6.5
Was
hours.
it like an hour away? Just kidding.
You can fly there, but that's gonna take you about 24 hours sometimes to get there. We having you sit there all day in that airport.
Tyler, you had a story about Large Marge?
on a night just like this. Like the sound of a garbage truck being dropped off the interstate or Empire State Building. That's the best highway ghost story of them all.
I was gonna tell it, but I just forgot it.
You should have told it
whole
like
story. Yeah, I was
should
gonna
have told
tell
it like
as if
straight.
was like a real but I forgot it.
Tell him Large March. Dang, that is a good one. I remember seeing that in the theater and about coming out of my chair, man.
Did that part scare you?
Oh, yeah. I was a kid, too, man.
The
Yeah.
face turned or something.
You ain't lying, it did.
Yeah, it was
It's
like
so
claymation.
unexpected. Yeah, yeah. Because it's so unexpected. You don't expect that. It's crazy.
Well, tell it. No, just
Where are we at?
we'll probably cut it right here for this episode. But if you all want to let everyone know where to follow you, keep up with you, what you're doing, what you got coming up.
I guess I'll go first. So you guys can add me on Facebook, You Hold a Tiger. Send me a message. Let me know that you listen to the podcast. I've had some people add me on Facebook and then message me or not message me, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not gonna add you. But yeah, just, if you do add me, just send me a message. You can follow me on TikTok, One Man Band 918. And then also too, I have my podcast, Warcry Podcast. I just released the holiday folklore episode. Some of the other episodes are Operation Paperclip, kind of conspiracy, and then I have true crime with some missing, mysterious disappearances that involve phones. That's kind of the podcast. So I talk about a wide range of things. I'm trying to think of where else. Oh, I guess YouTube as well. Warcry Podcast, and you can also find me as One Man Band on there too as well.
I'm Christopher Honka Hill on TikTok and Instagram.
Tyler Randall. You can find me over at Skoden_cinema on Instagram. Also got like a little sidecast that I'm doing right now called Pump Action Podcast, where we talk about action movies from the 70s, 80s, 90s, early aughts. You can find me on Facebook too under just Skoden Cinema. Like I said, it's kind of been kind of quiet over there. There's just been like a rush of like these Native American media podcasts popping up. I mean, there's a bunch of them. And so I just kind of thought, well, I'll kind of let it kind of thin out a little bit before I start it back up again, because it's kind of getting to be a big pond out there and I'm just a little fish. So, but yeah, you can find me over there. I talk about movies and, anything related to Native America representation in the media. So you can find me there.
And I'm Russell Sun Eagle. Check me out on Facebook. You can add me if you want. Send me a story. We'll read it on the air. Let me know if you want it to be you want credit or you want to remain anonymous. Follow us on Instagram at Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation. Follow us on TikTok at Reservation_Mysteries. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Unsolved Mysteries of the Reservation. Hit that bell so you can get notified when we release a new episode on there, and rate, review us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're available, and you can find me on Instagram as well at Okie Podcast, at RussellMus49. And so till the next episode, everybody, smudge up.